fast-paced section of Philadelphia today where people are angry and frightened following the savage murder of a teenager. It's a kind of crime that just doesn't happen around here. Edward Pollock was beaten to death on the steps of this Catholic church behind me. He ran here for sanctuary but was cornered and beaten with baseball bats. There were witnesses, and many of them called 911, but dispatchers treated their appeals with indifference. Listen to these calls and remember that while they were being made, an innocent boy lay dying. They are the recordings that have outraged the nation.
Police 225. I don't believe it. Just rang about 10 times. There's a big commotion going outside in front of our home like a gang fight.
16-year-old Eddie Pollock was being beaten over the head with baseball bats by a mob of teenagers.
They got clubs out there.
It's a gang fight.
There's a kid hurt out there.
All right.
Did you get that?
The gang was seeking to avenge a girl rumored to have been raped. A rape police say never took place. For a half hour, the anguish calls came pouring in, and the reaction by the 911 operators was often indifferent, even sarcastic.
Was that it? Yeah, that's it. Send the police car to some...
Wait a minute. You asked me, and I'm asking you.
What?
I have the information. You can hang up now.
Vicky Petrosky saw carloads of teenagers pull into the parking lot of this Pizza Hut restaurant where she works.
And I remember standing on the phone saying, nobody's answering. So I had reached over to another line and picked up the other line, and I was on two lines, and I had dialed 911 again, and both lines were ringing, and it had to ring at least 3 to 4 minutes.
Nicole Burton has been a 911 operator for 3 years. This is the way she handled one of the calls that night.
Police 244.
Yes, this is one of the sisters that came to see his convent on Ron Street. There's a bunch of kids out in the parking lot, and it looks like they're beating up one kid.
500 Ron, ma'am?
525 Ron.
In the parking lot?
Yes.
We'll send someone out.
Thank you.
I was never out of line with a caller. They gave me the information, I verified addresses, and I sent in the job.
Osborne Walker had worked 1 year as a 911 operator. This is his voice.
Okay, 525 Ron Street.
525 Ron.
Right.
Is that R?
R-H-A-W-N. We got kids being beat up. And no one wants to help us.
I'm trying to help you, ma'am. I have to first understand you.
I didn't tell them we were...
You haven't told me what's going on.
We had, like, I don't know, a group of 50 kids up front. Okay? You know where it is? It's in one...
You said 525 Ron, ma'am. That's what you said, didn't you?
Yes, that's...
Okay, that's where we're going to send them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
I was not obnoxious, nor was I rude.
Huh?
I answered that call as I've answered many other calls before. I answered that call with the intent of helping whomever was on the line.
45 minutes after the first emergency call was logged, police pulled up to the scene, but it was too late. Eddie Pollock was found on the steps of St. Cecilia's Church, where he had been an altar boy. He died the next day of massive blows to the head. Eddie Pollock's father, John.
He was murdered for absolutely no reason. He was murdered because a bunch of kids were going to take revenge for a rumor, and they picked on the first person they could find.
When you heard the 911 tapes, what was your reaction as mayor?
Taking a baseball bat, and you know the savagery to bash someone's head in with a baseball bat sufficient to kill him? It's unthinkable, and it fills you with despair.
The uproar has been swift and furious. Philadelphia Mayor Edwin Rendell has suspended Burton and fired Walker and 2 other 911 operators for what he called unforgivably rude and abusive behavior toward the people calling in.
That was a hard decision to terminate somebody based on that type of incident.
But was it appropriate?
Oh, I think there's no question it was appropriate.
They're ready to throw me out onto the street, to destroy my wife, my kids, to take away the home that I have. All of those things are in the process of happening because of this.
But John Pollock fears too much attention is being focused on the 911 operators and too little on the boys who stand accused of murdering his son.
I honestly do not believe that the 911 operators killed my son. There's a group of guys and girls with bats that murdered him.
The boys that did this to him intended to do that to him. They're the ones who should feel the remorse. They're the ones who should feel the guilt. And they're the ones that should pay the price, not us.
There were more than 20 police cars in the area, but none were sent to help Eddie Pollock. Mayor Rendell told me that the disciplinary action taken against the 911 operators is just the beginning of an overhaul of the entire 911 system. But it is feared that similar errors of judgment could take place in other large cities and with tragic consequences. Well, later, Hollywood's most difficult stars, and when we come back to Philadelphia, wrestling showman Vince McMahon talks for the first time since his fight
through the spotlight on kids and violence.
I think there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of hatred in kids.
A heart-to-heart talk with kids about what life is really like when they walk out that front door. And do you have a cellular phone? You may be getting billed for calls you didn't make.
I was getting bills for over $1,000.
Find out how to protect yourself from phone fraud. I'm Larry King. Join me for the bulletin next on KYW.